Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back, guys at Magic. This is Hunter and Steven. Say what up, Steven.
What's up, friends?
We are back with another upgrade video. This time we are looking at the Maestros Massacre. And Steven has taken $100 and has gone ahead and upgraded this deck. So, Steven, tell me what you've done with this deck. First off, let's talk about your commander. What commander have you chosen?
I chose Anhelo the Painter. I wasn't a really big fan of the secondary commander, Pernice? Subtle Brush. I actually just removed her completely out of the deck. But Anhelo the Painter, blue, black, red, Death Touch, which you love to see. It's a 1/3. First instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn has casualty 2. So pretty much the way I built this deck is I built it with a lot of token generation to a certain extent. I kind of took the creature base, moved it around a little bit. I added some good token generators that I think the Precon was kind of lacking in.
All right. Yeah, I know Anhelo is currently, I believe, looking at
He's like the
EDH Rec,
number one
the
for the past week.
number one card. So people are very excited for this card.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm actually contemplating just going ahead and like building a little bit of this budget deck myself. This is pretty cool.
Awesome. And this is your first time building a deck, so
Yeah, it's
this is good.
terrifying. Thank you.
You are officially thrown into the fire. So I guess let's just start off with your additions. What are you adding to this deck to make it even better?
All right, so I'm gonna start with the creatures. $100. There's a lot of cool cards that I put in here that don't cost too much. There were some like high budget cards. One of the high budget cards that I put in here, creature wise, was Bloodghast. 2 black, Bloodghast cannot block, but it does have haste as long as an opponent has 10 or less life, which hopefully, out of the 3 people will get to that point. But the main reason why I put this in here is because it's a 2/1 and it has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Bloodghast from the graveyard to the battlefield. So, I mean, in this kind of deck where we're constantly trying to sacrifice a 2 cost for the casualty for Anhelo, I think this card's amazing.
Yeah, it definitely seems like you can return this back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah. I mean, it is probably the higher end. I think there's one other creature I put in here that's high end, which we'll talk about now. I went ahead and just put Lear, Disciple of the Drowned, in here as well. Because if there's anything I love more, it's playing a really cool instant or sorcery and then just saying, "Hey, do you mind if I play that again?"
Especially if you're copying it.
Exactly. I think that's like my favorite thing about this deck is just being able to constantly play the same instants and sorceries multiple times. So yeah, Lear, 3 generic, 2 blue. Spells can't be countered, which I mean, in the deck that we're playing, we kind of want. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. 3/4, so a decent blocker, but mainly there just to kind of recursion for your spells.
Yeah, you get that double spell twice, so you're
Mm-hmm.
casting one spell 4 times essentially.
Yeah.
Seems pretty good.
And I think really on the higher end, probably about like 450. I put Archmage Emeritus in there as well, just because I do like card draw. I think card draw is probably one of the most important things in Magic, in my opinion. You do have 2 colorless, 2 blue Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, go ahead and draw a card. And for the deck we're building, it's pretty much exactly what we want.
Yeah, fits on theme very well.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to go ahead and get into the token generators that I kind of threw in here. I play Wilhelt the Rock Cleaver, which is probably one of my favorite commanders. So kind of going with the zombie 2/2 theme, I put in a Falcon Abomination. It's 2 colorless, a blue. It has flying. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. It does have Decayed, but to be honest, we don't really care about the Decayed because we're going to be using this for sacrifice. I just really like this card because A, it's cheap. It gives you a 2/2 with flying, and it creates another 2/2 as well. So I thought that card was pretty cool. I also added in Hobbling Zombie. It is 2, 1 black. It is a Death Touch. When Hobbling Zombie dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. Yet again, trying to create more of these 2/2 Decayed zombies for sacking. This itself is also a 2/2. And then my last two creatures that I threw in here are probably my two favorite ones. Jadar, Ghoul Collar of Nephalia. At the beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. So pretty much it's just trying to get us those zombie tokens so that way we can just sack with Anhelo. And then one of my favorite cards that I've actually always wanted to put into a deck, but I never really thought about it. Talrand, Sky Summoner. 2 colorless, 2 blue. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. If I had to pick, this card is probably the one that's going to get targeted the most if you play it, especially if people know what Anhelo does.
Yeah, man. These I feel like the decayed zombies are perfect for Anhelo.
Yeah, and once we get into the removals, I'll kind of explain why I kind of picked these cards over the other ones. But these were the creatures that I did add. I kind of think it fits the theme for the deck with the token creation and also the sack outlets.
I gotcha. Well, how about some of the how about some spells, not just creatures? What do we got?
All right, all right. We can talk about spells. We'll talk about spells. Let's talk about sorceries, Hunter.
Okay.
I added probably one of my favorite sorceries that, yet again, I have always wanted to put into a deck, but I never have. Blasphemous Act. 8 generic, 1 red. Spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Blasphemous Act deals 13 damage to each creature. I think every deck needs a good board wipe, and I think this card is probably one of my favorites. I did a Cruel Ultimatum. 2
Hmm.
blue, 3 black, 2 red. Uh, I was kind of like looking for different instants and sorceries that did some fun stuff, and I think playing this twice is just stupid. Target opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 3 cards, then loses 5 life, and then you return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. You draw 3 cards, and then you gain 5 life. So I think this card copied is just stupid.
Yeah, especially if you copy it, you can actually return the creature card that you just got rid of.
Exactly. And then I also put in a cut to ribbons. I really like this card. I'm not a big fan of the cut, but I'm a really big fan of the ribbons. Cut deals 4 damage to target creature. It is 1 generic and a red. Ribbons is on the side of it. It is a X cost with 2 black. The ribbon states Aftermath. Cast this spell only from your graveyard, then exile it. Each opponent loses X life. So I think once we get to the point where we're in late game, you have a ton of mana. You're able to just kind of like, not a secondary win con, but at least put in some damage here.
You can definitely do some mean things.
So the next card I want to talk about, because in my opinion, you can't have a good blue deck without some mill in it, is Cut Your Losses. Cut Your Losses is 4 generic, 2 blue. It has Casualty 2, and it also says target player mills half their library rounded down. I think this as kind of like a little bit of a combo with Anhelo, being able to create 3 people to just mill half their decks is stupid. So I just think this card is really good. When I saw this card released, I immediately pre-ordered it. I'm actually looking at it right now. I don't want to brag. But yeah, this is probably one of my favorite cards from the New Capenna set, and I think this little combo with Anhelo is pretty nasty.
Technically, if you really wanted to be mean, you can make a single opponent mill 87% of their library.
Well, listen, at the beginning of the game, you have 3 opponents. Hopefully, by the time, and if yeah, I just don't want to be that mean. Maybe I do want to be that mean. I don't know. The next card I want to talk about is actually probably one of the more expensive sorceries I did add to this deck. It is Expropriate. It is 7 colorless and 2 blue. It has Council's Dilemma. Starting with you, each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, take an extra turn after this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. And then you exile Expropriate. This card's just mean.
Seems pretty good.
Yeah. So even if everyone just votes for time, you're taking an extra 6 turns if you copy this spell, or you're taking control of 6 permanents. I mean, that's just nutty, man. I when I went through these cards, I was like, this has to go in this deck. Another card that I really like to go in here is kind of a big hitter, CMC wise as well. It is 6 colorless, a black, and a red. It is Fevered Suspicion. It states each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card, and then you may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards without paying their mana cost. It also has Rebound. If you cast a spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. I think this card's just stupid because you can basically play it twice. And since you're casting this card on your next upkeep without paying its mana cost, you can copy it again.
Yeah, it's again, those high level mana cost cards copied would be insane.
Yeah, I was a little worried just because some of these cards do cost a little bit, CMC wise, but I think with the way the deck is kind of built, there is some, treasure token generation. So I think with that, and then also just some of the lands that we kind of added will kind of help us get to that point. Last 2 sorceries I added Manifold Insights. It is 2 colorless and a blue. Reveal the top 10 cards of your library, starting with the next opponent in turn order. Each opponent chooses a different non-land card from among them. Put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your library in any random order. Now, granted, this can backfire because obviously they can just give you some shitty stuff, but I just think being able to look at the top 10 cards of your library twice is pretty good, and giving your opponents the option to put some stuff in there is pretty good as well. And then the last sorcery I added is kind of a funky one. Kind of went over it and I saw it for the first time, and I was actually kind of excited about it, but it is Yawgmoth's Vile Offering. It is 4 colorless, a black. You do have to have a legendary creature or planeswalker on the field in order to cast this, but you basically put up to 1 target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and then you destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker, and then you exile Yawgmoth's Vile Offering. Yeah, that's it's pretty good. Graveyard Recursion, pretty cheap. It's not reanimate, obviously, but 5 CMC to get any card from any graveyard. You put it on your side of the field under your control, and then you just destroy a target creature.
Yeah, definitely sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so myself. Those were the sorceries I added. Let's move on to some more spells, because who doesn't like spells? I will talk about the instants now. Instants, I added Big Score, basically Unexpected Windfall, just reprinted in a weird, cool way. I kind of like this art a little bit more. Big Score is 3 colorless, a red. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card, draw 2 cards, and create 2 treasure tokens. Obviously, this is solid. Treasure tokens, card draw, can't go wrong. Get rid of a card in your hand that's kind of shitty. Second card I added, Chaos Warp, because who doesn't like the randomness and the anarchy that this can create? Chaos Warp says for 2 colorless and a red, the owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent, they may put it onto the battlefield. So there is a good chance that they whiff if they put like a instant or a sorcery if they flip that. But I just think Chaos Warp trying to get rid of 1 target permanent if they have like a really big baddie or an enchantment that's really holding you down. I added a couple of counter spells. One being the OG counter spell, 2 blue counter target spell. Can't go wrong. It's probably one of the greatest cards ever printed, in my opinion. I just think to be able to say no to somebody is really good. But with that being said, being able to say no and then also doing some more stuff sounds more fun. So I added a Sublime Epiphany into this deck as well. It is 4 colorless and 2 blue. You can choose 1 or more. You can counter target spell, counter target activated or triggered ability, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Target player draws a card. So you're saying no, you're saying no, you're saying triple no. Then you're like, huh, I want a copy of this. And then you draw a card. I love Sublime Epiphany. I don't think it gets a lot of play, and I think it should.
A very good card.
Mm-hmm. Second to last instance I put in this deck was Thrill of Possibility. It is one colorless and one red. Additional cost to cast it, please discard a card, and then you draw 2 cards. Just going back into that card draw engine. I think getting into the deck while you're playing is super important, especially with this kind of style deck. So just having some extra card draw is really nice. And then the last instant was a pretty fun one. Just for 1 black, it is Vile Rebirth. You exile target creature card from a graveyard, and then you put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So it's like you're getting the 2/2 for 1 black. And if your opponents are playing any graveyard recursion, this is pretty good because as soon as they target something, especially if it's a combo piece, you're like, I don't want you to have that.
How about no? I mean, we've seen David's mean Beamtown Bully deck, so doing that to him would be devastating.
Yes, I'm so afraid to play David if he builds that deck. It's absolutely terrifying. The leveler card in that is just nuts. I
What
will
are
move.
what are some enchantments that you put in this deck?
Enchantments, I actually put some fun ones. Like I said, I mean, I play Will the Rock Lever and actually put some of the cards that I thought worked really best in that deck into this one. One enchantment I added is Curse of Disturbance. Enchant player, whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. Uh, Now, granted, you are giving your opponents a 2/2 black zombie creature token, but at the end of the day, I think it takes some heat off of you, so that way they don't attack you, they attack somebody else. And it does get you those 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, so that way you can start, using the casualty with Anhelo a little bit more. Another card I added, which I think is not played enough, if I'm honest with you, Curse of the Restless Dead. It is 2 colorless and a black. You enchanted player, just like the last card. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under enchanted player's control, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. Again, Decayed kind of sucks, but at the same time, we're just using these for sack outlets, so it doesn't really matter. I think this card's really good just because I think 8 times out of 10 I'm playing with 3 people and one of them has a landfall deck. And this being able to get, if you play on curve turn 3, this card is just nuts. Third enchantment I added, Ghoulish Procession. It is 1 generic and a black. Whenever one or more non-token creatures die, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. This ability triggers only once each turn. I think this card's undervalued. Being able to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token essentially almost every single turn, so you get at least 4 of them if everything goes correctly, is solid. So that's at least 4 times you can do casualty if nothing happens to your board state. I think this card's solid and it definitely needs to be in this deck. And then the last enchantment I put in here is a pretty fun one. It is Metallurgic Summonings. It is 3 colorless, 2 blue. It states whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create XX colorless construct artifact creature token. I would love to challenge anyone to say that 5 times fast, by the way. Where X is that spell's mana value, and then for 3 colorless and 2 blue, you can exile Metallurgic. See, I can't even do it once. For 3 colorless, 2 blue, you exile Metallurgic Summonings, return all instant and sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand, activate only if you control 6 or more artifacts. The second part of this card is kind of fun because you can get all that recursion back if like Lear's not on the field. But the main reason why I like this card is because of the first one. Just being able to create tokens to battle for you, because like I said, we did put some heavy hitter spells in here as well. I just think this card's really good to create those constructs for you to kind of add some defense or some offense.
All right. Rounding out, did you add any lands?
I did add 2 lands, because believe it or not, I was actually under budget. So I went ahead and just added some big boy lands. So that way, hopefully, help us with our curve. I added a Steam Vents, blue-red Shockland, pay 2, it doesn't enter tapped. And then I also added a Watery Grave, same thing, pay 2, doesn't enter tapped. That would be black-blue.
Awesome. These seem like really, really good cards to add to Anhelo.
Well, thank you. I was nervous.
Well, that's only the first part of it because you added all these cards. So tell me what exactly you're removing to make room.
I don't want to talk about what I'm removing. I think everyone just needs to understand that I did good, and so they just need to leave me alone. Okay, I guess we'll talk about removal. Creature-wise, I removed a lot of the creatures that are in this deck. I'll start with Woe Strider. Woe Strider enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 white goat creature token, sacrifice another creature scry, and then basically can escape by exiling 4 cards from your graveyard, and then pay 3 and 2 black. I like this card. I just don't think it fits this deck very well. It's a 3/2, so cool, you can sacrifice it and bring it back, but I'm not trying to exile 4 cards every single time to bring this card back. And then the token that it's bringing to the battlefield every time is a 0/1, so it doesn't even work with the casualty for Anhelo, so I took this card straight out. I got rid of the Blood-Soaked Champion. I think this card's good. I think that the Blood Gas is better. I don't really care for the fact that you can raid it back in as long as it's attacked. I think it was kind of pointless for this deck. Pernice, the Subtle Brush, I took out as well. 2 generic, blue, black, red. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless that player pays 4 life. Whenever you copy a spell, up to 1 target opponent may also copy that spell. They may choose new targets for that copy. I don't like the fact that I can play a really nice big spell and somebody can copy it. I don't want them to have the cool things I have. That's not fun. So I took this card right out.
That makes sense.
Puppeteer Clique. 3 generic, 2 black. Flying, 3/2. Whenever Puppeteer enters the battlefield, put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains haste, and at the beginning of your next end step, exile it. This one, I'm not going to lie, was kind of hard to toss. I think this card is actually pretty cool, just because you can use opponents' graveyards in order to basically use your casualty effects. So you can swing in, use the casualty, and then just kind of get rid of that card. But at the same time, I think that for 5 mana, there were some other creatures that kind of went into it, and I'd rather use that mana for instances and sorceries. That's kind of why the creature base, other than like Lear, was kind of on the low side for CMC. Other card I got rid of, Rekindling Phoenix. When Rekindling Phoenix dies, create a 0/1 red elemental creature token with, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this creature and return target card named Rekindling Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until end of turn. It's cool. To be honest with you, if I was going to put 1 card back in, it would have been the Puppeteer, but Rekindling Phoenix I just took out just for the other cards. Skyclave's Shade was another card that I wasn't sure about getting rid of, but since I put Bloodghast in the deck, I think that landfall is way better than this one. This landfall basically means you can cast it from your graveyard, which means you have to pay the extra 2. You can pay the kicker if you want, but I'd rather just be able to put that card straight onto the field. Last 2 cards I got rid of, Spellbinding Soprano, 1 generic, a red. When Spellbinding Soprano attacks instant and sorcery spells you cast this turn cost 1 less to cast. I think this card's kind of silly just because of Goblin Electromancer, which already comes in the deck. It is a blue and a red, and your instant and sorcery spells cast 1 less to cost, and you don't have to attack. So for me to basically, I didn't think it was good. Like, I don't want to have to attack for my spells that cost 1 less. Now, granted, if I put this in there with the other card, it costs 2 less if I attack, but I don't care. Last card I got rid of was Cyrix, Carrier of the Flame. A lot of phoenixes. Flying, haste, 2 colorless, a black and a red. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature card left your graveyard this turn, target phoenix you control deals damage equal to its power to any target. Whenever another phoenix you control dies, you may cast Strix, Carrier of the Flame from your graveyard. I get it. It was kind of like a little combo with the Rekindling Phoenix, but I like I said, with the direction we're trying to go with this deck, I thought those 2 cards were kind of stupid, so I got rid of them. And those were the creatures I got rid of for this deck.
All right. Creatures gone. What else are we getting rid of?
All right, let's go into the sorceries. I got rid of a card called Call the Skybreaker. It is 5 generic, a blue red or a blue red. Create a 5/5 blue and red elemental creature token with flying. It has Retrace. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other mana costs. I think we have enough token generation in this deck to where we don't need a shitty one that's really expensive.
I
I'd
was going to
rather put
say
in
7 mana for a 5/5.
yeah, it's like I said, and then you can retrace it from your graveyard by discarding a land card. I'm okay. I mean, I'd rather pay 7 mana for like some big baller spell and use the casualty by sacrificing a 2/2 with Decayed. So I think for the high cost of this card and the retrace aspect, I just got rid of it altogether. We have a good bit of card draw in the deck from what we added, so I also got rid of Damnable Pact. Damnable Pact is X 2 black. Target player draws X cards and loses X life. I'm kind of a little girl when it comes to Magic. I hate losing life, even if it's one life. I hate shopping lands myself. I hate searching for lands. I do it, but it hurts me on the inside. So I just got rid of this card just because we do also have the card draw with the Archmage of Emeritus and then the other 2 sorceries that I added. I removed Deep Analysis. It is 3 colorless, a blue. Target player draws 2 cards. It has a flashback of a colorless, a blue, and you have to pay 3 life. Like I said, we have enough card draw. I think that we don't really need this. So I just went ahead and chucked this bad boy out. This next card was kind of hard for me to get rid of because it is really good, but it's expensive. It is Hex. It is 4 colorless and 2 black. It states destroy 6 target creatures. I like this card, but at the same time, I think Blasphemous Fact does a way better job of destroying 6 target creatures. That's just my opinion. Fight me on it, I
Yeah,
guess.
this is not a board wipe.
No, not at all. I mean, granted, I understand that it might be 6 specific creatures you're trying to get rid of, but if you can't get rid of those creatures by dealing 13 damage to them, then you don't deserve to kill them.
And if you copy it, you do 26 damage.
Yes, this is true. And that's kind of why I threw the Blasphemous Act in there, because I think dealing 24 damage to each creature is kind of stupid.
26.
26, sorry. Yeah, that to me that's just it's overkill, but it's the good kind of overkill. You know what I mean? Another card I removed Ponder, which I know I'll catch some slack for. I did keep the Preordain in there. I think that Scry 2, then draw a card is a little bit better than look at the top 3 of your library, then put them back in any order. I know you can kind of like shuffle through, and to be honest, you can go back and forth with this. It really doesn't matter. But I mean, like I said, we have enough card draw in here to just do what we want. So to make room for some other cool stuff, I just got rid of one of those Scry and draws. I got rid of Reign of the Pit. It is 4 colorless, 2 black. Each player sacrifices a creature. Create an XX black demon creature token with flying, where X is the total number. Sorry. Create a XX black demon creature token with flying, where X is the total power of the creature sacrificed this way. A lot of mana for stupid sacrifices. Like I said, Blasphemous Act is way better. The Cruel Ultimatum in this deck is really cool. I just think that this was just kind of silly. I mean, at max, you're getting rid of 3 creatures. You'll create a really big one, but at the end of the day, like that's not what I'm trying to go for with this deck. This next card, it's kind of funny. I got rid of it, and then I played a game that night, and it made me realize why it's good, but I'm still getting rid of it because I said it in the first place. I'm getting rid of Sever the Bloodline. It is 3 colorless and a black. It states exile target creature and all other creatures with the same name as that creature. It does have flashback for 5 and 2 black. When I was reading this, I was like, what's the point of this? We're playing Commander. It's one of ones. And then I played a guy that played Adrix and Ev. And I get it. I get it. I understand why this card's semi-decent. But how many times
But
are you
that's
playing?
exactly. You're running into that how many times?
Yeah. So in my mind, do I need this in the 99 to run into it every once in a while and then hope to God I have it in my hand? No. So this card chucked right out. And this next card, I wish I could pronounce, and I'm going to try without Hunter's help. Zendersplit Judgment?
Right.
Hell yeah, better than Shane. So this will be this will be 4 colorless and a blue. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend creates a token that's a copy of a creature they control. Each foe returns a creature they control to its owner's hand. I'm like David in the fact that I don't like giving my opponents the option to get something cool. I'm the only one that's allowed cool things, and I'm the only one that's allowed to win the game, so that's why I threw this card out.
Oh, as always, you're supposed to win the game, right?
What is losing?
What is losing?
I guess maybe we should move over to the instance now.
All right, tell me
Uh,
some instance.
yep, I got rid of 5 of them altogether. Some of them I thought were kind of stupid. The waste management card, 2 generic, a black. It does have kicker for 3 colorless and a black. Exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. If the spell was kicked, exile the target player's graveyard instead. Create a 2/2 black rogue creature token for each creature card exiled this way. You know, later on in the game, I think this card could be really nice. I rather just play a Bajuka Bog and call it a day. Um, the token generation's nice, but I think we have better token generation than worrying about 2 cards. So I went ahead and just dumped that out. Another card I got rid of was Mystic Confluence. 3 generic, 2 blue, choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Return target creature card to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Uh, this card to me was kind of stupid, so I went ahead. That's pretty much why I put Sublime Epiphany in this deck. I think Sublime Epiphany is way better because it gets you some, copies. It basically does everything the same. Now, granted, I understand you can choose counter target spell unless its controller pays 9, essentially, but I mean, is there really a point? Most of the time when you're playing, if you counter the spell, you're countering it. Another card I got rid of, Dig Through Time. I thought this card was a little expensive for what I wanted it to do. 6 colorless, 2 blue. You can delve. So each card you exile from your graveyard while casting a spell pays for 1. Already, I don't like this. I'm not trying to get rid of stuff from my graveyard. I'm also trying to recur stuff from my graveyard. I don't like this card whatsoever for that matter. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Uh, no, just no,
Just no.
just no.
No, thank you.
Absolutely not. And then the last instant I got rid of was Body Count. Basically, Body Count is 2 generic, 1 black. It has Spectacle for 1 black. Draw a card for each creature that died under your control this turn. For everyone that doesn't know, Spectacle is if a card died, you can just pay its Spectacle cost rather than pay the extra 2 generic. Uh, I think we have enough card draw to where we don't have to worry about this card. I get it that technically you're playing a casualty deck, so you're going to be sacrificing things. So you'll at least draw 1 card, or if you Blasphemous Act. But I just think that it's a little too situational, so I just got rid of it. I will move over to the artifacts now. I didn't add any artifacts to this deck. I just removed 2 that I didn't think were really necessary. I basically removed them to make room for some other cool things. First one I got rid of, which I'm sure I'll catch hate for, because it's basically one of the new cards from the set, but it is Smuggler's Buggy. It is a artifact vehicle that is a 5/5 with crew 2. It has Hideaway 4. Whenever Smuggler's Buggy deals combat damage to a player, you may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. If you do, return Smuggler's Buggy to its owner's hand. This is cool. I like Hideaway. Like I said, this deck is going towards token generation and going towards basically trying to make sure that you get your casualties off. I don't need a card to just hide something away, crew, deal 5 damage, and then play that card for free. I'm okay. So I got rid of this as well. Mimic Vat is another artifact I got rid of. It is 3 colorless. It has Imprint. Whenever a non-token creature dies, you may exile that card. If you do, return each other card exiled with Mimic Vat to its owner's graveyard. For 3 colorless, you tap it, create a token that's a copy of a card exiled with Mimic Vat. It gains haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step. This is cool. I get it. But like I said, I think with the other cards we added, we don't really need this card, so that's why I got rid of it to make room for some other things. And those were the 2 artifacts I got rid of.
How
I
about
got
some
rid of.
enchantments?
I did get rid of 2 enchantments. One of the 2 enchantments was Extravagant Replication. It is 4 colorless and 2 blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent you control. I can understand why this is in the deck in the Precon for the direction that we're doing and the removals and the additions. I think this card kind of became pointless. so I went ahead and got rid of it, especially since it is such a high cost enchantment. I also got rid of Rite of the Raging Storm. It is 3 colorless, 2 red. Creature's name Lightning Rager can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player creates a 5/1 red elemental creature token named Lightning Rager. It has trample, haste, and at the beginning of each end step, sacrifice this creature. I think this card's really cool, but it doesn't say goad, so it doesn't have to attack. So I guess if you're like starting to win the game and you're giving your opponents these cards, they can just not use them. So I don't know. I mean, this card's kind of cool, but the other enchantments I think did a better job of doing what the direction of this deck is. So I went ahead and got rid of those.
And I know we added a couple of lands. What did you take out to make room for those lands?
I got rid of a pointless card. At least I think I got rid of Ash Barrens. Uh, Basic land cycling. I don't really need this. It's a colorless land. I rather have the colored mana. I also got rid of Grixis Panorama. Just for the fact that I just think that there are better lands out there. Basically, Grixis Panorama is a colorless tap, and then you can pay 1 tap at sacrifice it, go search for a basic swamp or mountain card. And then I just got rid of 1 swamp, just 1.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So, is that it?
I know it is a lot, isn't it?
It is a lot.
Yeah, and
But
I know people aren't really big fans of like the multiple, but I mean at the end of the day, like we're trying to build decks that we really like and we can play, and this is kind of the direction I wanted to go.
it seems like these upgrades have made it very powerful. Anhelo seems like a really, really, really good commander.
No, he's solid, man. I mean, the casualty too, and there are other cards you can put in here, but obviously with the budget we had, this is kind of what I thought of, and I think I think it's a pretty cool deck, and I do recommend everyone kind of try it out.
So, for the $100, if you had $100, what was the total of all these cards that you added in here?
Well, Hunter, if you gave me $100 and I was building this deck, let's just say I wouldn't have to spend any extra, and I wouldn't be giving you any change, buddy.
That sounds pretty good, man. Pretty close to the $100, I'd say.
Yeah, I like hitting the mark on the dot as much as possible, so I tried pretty hard on this one.
Good, man. You did a great job. I think a lot of people will be excited to see this deck.
Yeah, I can't wait for
And
David to just shit on me on it.
and if you guys want to see the entire deck list of Steven's upgrade, in the description we will post a link to Boxfield to check it out. And as always, don't forget to like this video if you did. Comment down below letting us know if you liked the upgrade or if you think things should be a little different. Either way, we're open to feedback.
Make sure you stay tuned for the $300 upgrade because that's going to be miltastic.
Oh, a little tease there.
That's all I am in
Okay,
life is a tease.
little tease. I'm excited to see your 300 upgrade when we get to that. Don't forget to follow us on our Instagram and our Twitter. That is at Guys That Magic for all of our updates. If you don't want to check them out just on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until next time, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Thank you.